From JA to UK to LA and everywhere else now, this is a podcast strictly influenced by Jamaican music, brought to you by Eric Kohler and Junor Francis. Well, if you're driving in your car or you're sitting home alone, the Junior entertain you on his microphone. History of LA Ska. Yeah, hear stories from a guest while we all have a blast. From LA to Jamaica, it's in the podcast. The history of LA Ska. Of LA Ska, yeah. It's the history. Yes, it is. Of LA Ska. History of LA Ska, yeah. It's the history. Yes, it is. Of LA Ska. Of LA Ska. It's the history of LA Ska. One more time, yeah. It's the history of LA Ska.
Welcome to the History of LA Ska one-on-one sessions. I'm your host, Junor Francis, alongside our producer and my good friend, Eric Kohler. This series celebrates the ska, rocksteady, and vintage reggae scene in Southern California and beyond through insightful conversations with legend and modern-day talent, including those behind the scene. So whether you listen to this podcast series or watch it on YouTube, we really and truly want to thank you. And please remember to subscribe and tell as many friends as you possibly can. And I can't emphasize that enough. This particular series is 100th episode. We welcome two members of the highly influential veteran dancehall crushers, singer, songwriter, composer, Karina Denike, and guitarist Jason Hammon. Thank you both for joining us on this splendid day.
Yes, Karina, nice to meet you again. Jason, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
And yes, Junior, as you said, the 100th episode. So happy 100th anniversary. And it's wonderful to have you both here to help us celebrate.
From our sister city of San Francisco. Eh?
That's right, the Bay Area, right? Exactly.
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco, and Jason's in the East Bay, which is where the band started, and close
and
to
East
Berkeley.
Bay is also considered San Francisco, right?
No, San Francisco is separate, and the East Bay is Berkeley and Oakland, and extends out to Albany, which is where, and Pinole, which is where the Green Day guys are from, and then and the Walnut Creek and Orinda and San Leandro and Fremont. So East Bay is kind of a big section of parts of Oakland and Berkeley.
Would you call it all the Bay Area, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm partially right.
Yeah. But San Francisco is its own city. And
Right.
its own...
That's
Yeah,
fair
right,
point.
right.
Fair point. So Karina, we were talking off the record, or off camera, I should say, that you were a guest on our episode 11, which was during COVID, and it was July 2020. So if anyone wants to listen or watch that IGTV Rewind episode, you certainly can. That was a fun one. And then Karina, you also participated, I guess it was a year and a half ago now, at the Grand Museum when we did our History of LA Ska episode, panel number 4.
Yeah.
Which was an in-person little panel discussion. So that one is also available. You can find that on our Instagram little profile, if you will. And Jason, it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
All right.
Proceed.
Yes. So the internet was blowing up recently because
And she knows why she's laughing. You know why, right?
We both know why. Because after 20 years, you all were getting back together. I don't want to say reform and reunite, but you all were getting back together for some shows. So this June and July, you're going to be playing in Washington, D.C. and Long Beach, right, as part of Van's Warped Tour, as well as your hometown, a couple shows at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco. Is that all accurate?
That's correct.
Yep. That is all correct.
2 questions in relation to that, and this could be for either or both of you. Why is now the time? And secondly, what is Dancehall Crashers' history with Warped Tour?
But what I heard is that they had to pay the farmer's ransom to bring you guys back together. Is there any truth to that?
Yes, everything you've heard is true.
All right. Proceed
Everything on
to
the
answer.
also everything on the internet is true, by the way.
Proceed to answer.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. Always.
Everything.
Yeah.
Do you want me to say why now, and then you want to say about Warped Tour, or vice versa?
Yeah, sure. Either way, whatever.
Okay. I think I will start with that part of the question, maybe. I think, I've been doing the stuff with No Effects, and I've been around touring a lot for the last 8 years. And I would say that, I kept sort of sending everyone messages going, there's a lot of people asking if we're going to get back
Right,
together.
right.
It was really so sweet because we'd be, playing just the most random places, the random shows, all across the world, really. And just like crazy, sweet super fans, or if he would introduce me as Karina from Dancehall Crashers, meaning Fat Mike of No Effects. And then there would sometimes be people that were like friends of the band or hanging out on stage and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize that was you. When are you getting back together? I can't believe it. It was so sweet. Or like the crowd, or there was just a kind of a lot of like response that I was getting, and I was just sending the band is still in communication, and we're all in good terms. There was nothing weird. So I would sort of just like send people little messages saying like, guys, think about it. And we'd all been very busy doing our own thing. Like everyone's really successful and doing like their own life and busy with kids, but also with like, businesses and their own careers. And so it wasn't feeling right. But I think that might have been a little bit of an impetus, just because I was like, people are really asking us about it. And I think just everybody's kind of in a good place right now to kind of consider it. Maybe kids are old enough, people's kids. I don't have kids, but everybody else in the band has 2 kids. And I think maybe just about old enough to figure maybe it's worth it to come back. And I know that for some people, and Jason can speak to that as well, his daughter, who's an awesome musician, but also, a lot of people's kids are asking, like, they want to see us play, like Mikey's kids, who are the youngest right now, our bass player.
Wow.
And so I think that was a big part of it too. Like everybody in the band was sort of saying like, my kids really want to see us play. And it was kind of like, no, it's not a good time. I'm too busy this year, et cetera, et cetera. And then it just kind of all felt like the right moment. Then everyone's like, okay. And it sure was a surprise to me, because I thought it might never happen.
I get it.
So,
Wow.
yeah, that's my part of the story. Jason?
Okay.
Yeah, no, just to add on to that, I have 2 daughters. Neither had ever seen the band. And sadly, I mean, they were alive when, last time we played, but they were little, and I didn't know that was going to be the last time we were going to play for like 20 years.
Right.
And yeah, so it's always been something that we talked about, like, oh, it'd be so cool if you guys played, and it'd be great to see you guys, and having a daughter that's now like touring and doing all that is really cool, and it's just really
that'll be so special.
full circle to do this. And then, I mean, I think the other thing too is we all get along and we all talk all the time, and it looks like we planned it out, like, oh, we're going to do a web store, and then we're going to do a vinyl reissue, and then we're going to do the big reveal. But it was nothing like that.
No,
it looked like a great setup, a great launch.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it was because other people started selling our merch. I was like, hey guys, I'm in Australia, and someone's wearing some really ugly version of our t-shirt.
Yeah. Right. You might as well control, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that part of it started that way. And I mean, I had good friends asking me, also like Jackie and like Crease from the Aggrolites. And we all went out to lunch when we were doing Greg Lee's memorial, for example. And they're like, Jackie's like, okay, Karina. And Crease is like, when are you guys doing a reunion? I'm like, I don't think it's going to happen. And that was like a few weeks before we decided to do it. I was like, it's not going to happen. Like, don't hold your breath. Maybe, but it's not looking like it at this point.
Right.
So
yeah. Prior to you guys coming back, this is the first time actually that you guys said, okay, the time is right, the place is right, the season is right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like a lifetime. 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I mean, I
the
think
reunions, the
shit.
songs,
I mean, there was a time in the
Hard to
early
believe.
2000s where something came up, and we had talked about it, but it just didn't work out a couple times. But like nobody was ever like, I hate you, I don't want to ever play with you guys again or anything. We're always
that's
good.
good.
It just
Mhm.
didn't really work out. And I would give Kevin a lot of credit for,
Sure.
Mhm.
Kevin Lyman.
you know, reaching out to it. And, you know, you were asking about the Warped Tour. We did the
Yeah.
Warped Tour in 96. It was fun. It was the Warped Tour. So it's like parking lots and
Right.
warm beer and like all kinds of zaniness,
Yeah.
right? You know, we met like the Boss Tones and we met Rocket from the
Wagon
Crypt.
and
I mean, so many bands. Yeah.
Wishbone, No Effects. I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't meet them. Yeah, it was like a lot of people that we were hanging out with. Yeah. So
Yeah.
We
And
were watching some footage a little while ago of that 96.
So
yeah.
did you guys play Long Beach in 96?
Well, I guess, yeah, I don't know where it
was
was down here. Maybe Pomona, or I'm not sure where it
If
was
it's
in
Long Beach,
96.
I don't know. I don't remember what an LA show. I remember San Diego,
Yeah.
San
okay. You may
Francisco,
not
San
have.
Diego. I don't know. I mean, there must have been in 96. I don't know.
New
Yeah.
But
Jersey. What's it called? Coney Island.
yeah, the
Mm.
Stone Pony.
Mhm.
Stone Pony with and that's a kind of there's a great video of that because it's like Blink 182 and
Yeah.
like Boss Tones and like all these bands are just like hanging out on that
Yeah.
one, just like at the
Wow.
back of the stage, and that's where we met everybody. And yeah, like Jason said, like Kevin Lyman, we've always had a really good rapport with him. We did European Warped Tour as well with Bad Religion and No
Oh,
Effects
okay.
a couple years later. I think it was 98 or something. Does
Mhm.
that sound right? Or
Yeah.
98? I think it's 98.
Yeah, and that was also with Blink, and we shared a bus with what, Royal Crown Review, I think it was. The two biggest bands like had to share a bus together. That was crazy. So that was bizarre.
That was also during the swing revival, right? If
Yeah.
you right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one day you guys just wake up and said, "This is it, the end. We're gonna go our separate way."
There were probably a few little factors kind of leading towards that.
Fist
People were,
fights, gunshot fight.
what was that?
Fist fights,
Yeah,
gunshot.
fist fights. Yeah, food fights. A lot of food fights.
Mm.
You know, people slipping on banana peels, and that was it. No, I mean, I think there were a few factors. I think we were getting tired of it. We'd actually been playing for like, I'm telling Elise it's 18 years, and she doesn't believe me, but I was 18 when I joined, and I was 36 when we stopped.
Wow.
That's not
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's actually not right.
That's not right because that
No.
would mean you're older than me. But
Yeah, no, that's not right. But it was like, I think maybe we put out our last thing. It was a long time. We were together for like 15 or 16 years, maybe that's what it is.
yeah.
So it'd been pretty steady, and people were, Mikey was moving to New York. Like it was just kind of, we were like kind of doing other things, wanting to get on to other things.
Right.
Pretty sick of touring. There were had some pretty bad label stuff that had happened. Like we had a few reasons that we were getting kind of disgruntled about it, I would say. And it was just time to take a break. And yeah.
And that break started when? What year?
I feel like it was 2004 because
That was the last time we played. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
last time we
Okay.
played was 2004.
Right.
I think we took a break. I think we actually started to break a little bit before that, but then we got, then we got back, did some stuff.
We were supposed to play in Japan in like September or October of 2001. And then September 11th happened. We had to cancel that.
Right.
And then we booked it like a year later or whatever it was, and did a few things in, stateside after that. And then it was, I think we played Hawaii one last time. Anyway, it was just sort of like a little bit disjointed. I know Elise and I were both kind of like, you know what? I kind of don't want to do this anymore. And she was like, yeah, me neither. Like we were both like at the same moment going, I'm done. I'm kind of done for a while. And it wasn't like super shitty or anything, but we definitely felt like both at the, like, I was going to tell you that too today. I was going to tell you, like, it was weird. We're both like, I just kind of, no, I'm done for a while.
Right. We're going to come back obviously and talk more about Dance Hall Crashers, but I want to take us a slightly different direction here. Karina, last time Junior and I saw you was at a incredibly special and emotional night at the El Rey Theater. This poster right here with the man Greg Lee. It was the Dance With Me tribute to Greg Lee concert. You played a very key role alongside your friends and brothers in the Aggrolites, aka the Dirty Reggae Bunch, and an incredible array of special guest singers and musicians. Karina, will you share some thoughts about Greg and about that night?
Yeah, it was pretty emotional to do that concert for so many reasons, and a lot of love in the room. You know, Greg was a huge figure as a person and as a musician and as a kind of a community. I don't know, force, I guess, because he, you know, the first time I saw them play, because I kind of grew up on you know, Toots and early reggae and like, you know, Desmond Decker and all that kind of stuff, and then got into more like the punk ska stuff. But the first time I ever saw Hepcat play, I think was at the Bears Lair or at Gilman in Berkeley.
Wow.
And like 1989 or 90. And I was just floored by them because, first of all, I just, you know, two harmony singers. I mean, obviously, I love that. I love that. Such great musicianship, such great songs, and such great vibe and energy on stage. Both of them, Alex Desert and Greg Lee. And then Greg, you know, covered for some years when Alex was doing some acting and stuff. And he just had such a great positive energy on stage, making the audience kind of like forget all their troubles. Like, you know, they have that song, like No Worries, all that stuff. But it really was that. Like, I had sort of a pilgrimage with a few friends. Kitty English, who was a DJ Kitty. Piper, the great photographer, Piper Ferguson, the friend Persimmon, that like anytime they played, it'd be like, we gotta go. And like, I would like be up front dancing, and I don't always do that. It's just, to me, they are the ultimate kind of band. And Greg Lee was was such an amazing force as a front person. Like, he's just like I look up to him so much in that way. And then he was a very dear friend. I was quite close with him. We toured one of our earliest tours. We toured with Hepcat. It was like 96 or something? No, before that, 95.
No, I think it was 90.
No.
91. Yeah.
91.
Wow,
Yeah.
not early. Okay.
Our first tour was with King Apparatus, which was probably around 90. And then I think 91, summer of 91 was with Hepcat. 4 minivans filled with fun and people shooting fireworks at each other from between vans. It was crazy. I mean, it was just a goofy, fun tour.
It was really fun. And the lowrider van is what they called it, the small van. And then just like driving through, like, you know, Mississippi, like, you know, talking to like Destin and Greg and Alex about, they were like, let's get the fuck through this town, through this state.
I mean, yeah, that we would go places and they would like we would walk in and they'd be like, yeah, you need a table. And then they would walk in behind us. They'd be like, yeah, we don't have a table. You know, it was just like really, it was weird, you know? I mean, it's just America, right? Yeah. And then we ended up in New Orleans, and there was like this awesome like band or something that hosted us and made us black beans and rice, and we all hung out, and that was just a really fun tour. And we went to Hawaii with them.
Yeah.
And you know, we did a lot of shows over the years. That was the only tour I think we did, but
do you awesome. Do you remember around what year Elise started managing them?
I want to say it was like 94 or something. It wasn't right away.
Not sure.
But maybe it was earlier. And she managed them for a long time.
Yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah.
10 years, maybe. And my numbers might be off, but
right.
Yeah, she started managing. I think that was the second band she ever managed besides us. I mean, then she did manage other people too, but
sure.
No use for a name for a little while and stuff. But yeah, I mean, she was incredibly close with them too. Like, we were just very, very close friends. I mean, I love them all dearly, and Greg Lee was kind of, you know, the face of it, and so stylish and handsome and like brilliant, and like he was just fantastic. He's such a great, and his songs are so good. I mean, I just love them. Yeah. It was really emotional to do that show.
My goodness.
Yeah. But I will say, I think I hear a little feedback, but Karina, the chemistry between you and Jesse up there, and and just everything that you added just truly made it, just helped make it so amazing. So,
Was that the first time working with Jesse?
oh no,
No, it's not.
In what capacity did you guys work before?
Well, we've been doing a little series that we might be doing more of. Yeah, I kind of just don't want to talk about it too much because scheduling is hard to figure out. But we've been working on a bunch of stuff for a while. But I've done several random shows. Well, I've played with Western Standard Time with him several times.
That's right.
We've done quite a few shows in Santa Cruz and San Francisco, and doing harmonies. And we just kind of like. We kind of hit it off because I do a lot of like croony jazzy stuff and he's such a good crooner.
He loves it.
I also and so we kind of get our like I feel like we're like the Keeley and
oh right, yes.
Louis Prima, like I kind of joke about it, like he's the goofy guy and I'm like kind of like grumpy straight face. But we've done a lot of stuff together actually, and we did some pandemic like collaborations with Alex, Desert, like some ink spots and stuff like that, and like kind of do-up things. And so I've actually been singing with Jesse a lot, and then I got him into a big show that I did at called the Red Room Orchestra, which was part of the Netflix as a Joke series in LA, and I got him on that. So we've sung together a lot. So we have a good rapport, which is why I sort of jumped on tons more harmonies than planned that night.
Wonderful. So that's essentially how you stay busy.
Yeah, doing music.
So Jason, how do you stay busy?
Oh gosh, I'm really busy. I play music in a few different groups. I have a tech job that I like a lot. Coach a high school mountain bike team. Have 2 daughters, have 3 dogs, the whole shebang. So.
And what bands you playing? Are you at liberty to say?
No, I'm not at all. So I play in a female-fronted punk band called Beneath You, with our bass player's from Limp, and the drummer is my brother Gavin, who's in Dancehall Crashers, obviously. And Gavin and I also play in a kind of all-acoustic Americana band called King Cab, with one of our dear friends, Katie, and our friend Ben. And I play in an 80s cover band. I play guitar in that one.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
So,
What kind of
the
80s music?
Droids. It used to be the Stanley Androids. But it's the Droids, but it's all 80s new wave covers.
New wave. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So no ska. Well, we did a Madness song. We did Our House, but yeah. So Gavin and I had played. I mean, we always played music, so we've been playing music kind of the whole time, and yeah, a lot of fun hobbies.
At all, Rusty coming back, regrouping. You're not rusty at all.
No, I didn't think I was be rusty, but I think I was the most rusty, which is weird. I thought I was gonna be like the least rusty because I play guitar all the time, but yeah, there's a lot of guitar parts and solos and stuff that I thought I was kind of expecting muscle memory to take care of, but they didn't. But now I'm good. It's all good now. Like
yeah, we've already practiced, so we had a couple of. We kind of got together like, are we going to be able to do this?
You two or the group? The two of you?
The whole group.
The whole group, yeah.
First of all,
I was nervous. I mean, it was like Gavin said that, which was
You
really
mean at
fun.
rehearsal you were nervous?
I was nervous when we practiced.
You're kidding.
And because it was weird because like I'm not really nervous about playing music at all. And like Gavin and I had run through a lot of the songs, right? Because we practiced with the other band anyway, and we practiced at the same rehearsal space that we've been practicing at. So we ran all these songs, they sounded great. And then I don't know, we all got together and all of a sudden I couldn't remember any of the solos and stuff. So I had to go back and practice. But I think I redeemed myself last time we practiced.
You sound awesome.
Yeah.
I think, it's shocking what muscle memory does. Like you're like, you can't understand why you're remembering certain things and like who wrote these lyrics and why did I'm remembering my parts, and then you'll have these like blank sections that you're like, what the hell? Or like you have to listen to the record and you go, I wrote that? Like I can't even put myself in that place of ever having written that or singing that or playing that. It's really weird. Also, Jason's taking on a lot because we've often had two guitar players, not always, but like sometimes you're doing, Scott Abels parts or Jamie McCormick's parts, and everyone plays differently, right? And they have a different style and a different way of doing things. So, and Billy Bouchard from Water Dog and Phil Enzer from Limp, like we've had a few different guitar players play with us over the many years that we were playing live. And so Jason is taking on a lie by having to have covered everybody on that first rehearsal.
Wow.
Yeah, which is fine,
But in the final analysis, you will have both lead and rhythm.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we talking about
I
that?
don't know if we're talking about it yet. We have
Okay, we're
somebody.
not talking about that. But yeah, we're gonna have another guitar player playing with us. So
Yeah, for some of the set.
super excited.
Right.
Otherwise, it's all original members, meaning
Yep.
original is not from 1989. I always think that we should do a big family tree.
Right. That shows.
We could.
Because Dancehall Crashers has probably had the most amount of lineup changes of any band in the East Bay anyway, especially. But, in the very early days, we settled on this group and have been this group for a long time. But the very early days, it was like 30 band members went through, maybe never even played a show.
You're not going to believe I asked Kohler randomly when I arrived tonight, what if some of the other members want to rejoin the group? Would you believe that came up? I don't know
really?
what about that. Yeah.
The answer is no. He cannot join the group.
Yeah, no, I mean the first show I played with Dancehall Crashers, we had two different singers. That we did not have Elise or Karina. So that was
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of like, I mean, and this sounds bad, but I kind of feel like the band really started once we had Elise and Karina. So
Right.
That's not at all. I think that's
my take on it. So I mean, yeah.
Well,
and Jason's the OG. Jason's the only one that's been it from the very beginning.
I wasn't even from the very
first.
Yeah, okay, from our group.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a perfect segue to our question.
Yes.
So, Jason, since you were there first, please talk about when and how the group was formed. And to add my 2 cents, I know the name Dance Crasher came from that Alton Ellis 1965 monster hit that was recorded at Treasure Isle.
Yes. So the story I'll tell is kind of like how the band formed. I wasn't there for the very first practice or anything like that, but so Tim Armstrong and Matt Freeman were playing in Op Ivy, right? And I was playing in a punk band called Rapid Lassie, and we played with Op Ivy all the time, sometimes for like 5 people, It was just, and like honestly, before that, my only exposure to ska was like the English beat, like Mirror in the Bathroom, things like that. But they were great. I mean, they just had this energy about them that was so cool and different. And they wanted to start a ska band that wasn't a punk ska band. And my friend Grant, who I was friends with in high school, who I just knew from like same town and all that. He was like, "Hey, you should come practice with us." And I was like, "I don't know how to play ska." And he's like, "Yeah, but you know how to play punk, you're fine." And that's kind of, I showed up and there was horns and just crazy and mostly not the same songs. I think there was like Keep on Running and Dancehall Crashers, but a lot of the other songs were different. They were kind of reminiscent of covers and stuff like that.
And what year are you talking now?
That was 88, probably. Yeah.
And then that Dancehall Crashers, the title did come from that song. And
yeah.
Is it Eric Larson or one of the...
Or a compilation or something.
Yeah.
And you guys never covered that song, Dancehall Crasher?
No, we didn't.
Dance Crasher.
No.
It's never too late.
I know.
Well, Tim Armstrong basically wrote Dancehall Crashers Tonight, which is our theme song.
Yeah.
So that's our version of it, but it's not, of course. But that is where the
song by Alton is definitely one of my favorite from the ska era, one of. And,
that song?
Yeah, and I think at that point I said, Jamaican singers can sing just as well as American singers. So they were playing like Otis Redding was very popular
Yeah.
at the time, and a couple other singers, and Sam Cooke. But I think Alton is up there.
Yeah.
I arrived at the conclusion all by myself.
There's one you can't be talking about. There's so many good singers.
I know. It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Youth
true.
and Jimmy
But then we
Cliff,
were
like,
told in Jamaica that Jamaican music was not on a par with American music. That's why the radio stations couldn't play it. So they didn't play
wow.
very many Jamaican music. Most of the music you heard were American music, country
In
western.
Jamaica.
Yes,
Right.
everything except Jamaican music. It's essentially what it was, a pay to play. So, American representative, they have a name. The runners, they go to especially English speaking countries and pay the radio DJs and
Paola.
yes, but I'm trying to make it sound professional. And so that's what you hear on the radio station, American.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the justification or
Yeah.
the explanation is that your music is not as good as.
Yeah.
So my pushback was, no, I did the comparison. I said, no, man, Alton is up there.
Alton's up there. So many people are up there. Are you kidding me?
Dance Crusher, Alton is there.
Yeah, for
Couldn't
sure.
fool me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so many people.
And a perfect name for your band. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jason, carry on.
Oh, I mean, that's about it.
Oh,
And
where was it?
I mean, Tim by that point was just, kind of doing his own thing. And at some point, Op Ivy broke up. They started in a post-Op Ivy band called Downfall, and I got to play in that one too, so that was cool. So I got to spend a lot of time with Tim, Matt, and Dave Mello, and Dave Mello's brother Pat, and we recorded like a whole album's worth of stuff. Learned a lot about ska guitar from Tim at that point,
Wow.
which was really great. I mean, he taught me a ton, and then kind of brought that back to Dancehall Crashers.
And then Karina, when do you enter the picture?
So there were two singers at that point. So that, as Jason said, Elise wasn't in the band. It was a woman named Ingrid. And was Leland singing? I don't
Yeah,
know.
it was Leland. I mean,
Leland's a
yeah.
friend of ours.
Let's say Leland, because I mean it was
Yeah.
like that was a little murky at that point. But yeah,
As I
it
said,
was
there was
Leland and Ingrid. Yeah.
right. And there was a lot of like people, moving around, like maybe
Yeah, people were milling about. So
yeah, there was a lot of East Bay visitors into the band. But Elise was already then in the band when I joined, and actually, funnily, so my younger brother, who's a year younger than me, was a scooter boy, rude boy, DJ, just in the scooter scene with friends with everybody. And I wasn't as much, but I grew up with that music because we grew up in England and then moved to Berkeley. So I knew all the music really well, but I wasn't as much in the scene as he was. But we're kind of like twins. We're a year apart. And he was actually at Sproul Plaza, I think, with Leland, and Elise went up to both of them and said, hey, do you know, because they look like scooter boys and ska boys, and said, do you know of any ska bands in the Bay Area or in Berkeley? And so they said yes, and that's how she joined Dancehall Crashers, through them. Like, she just kind of saw some guys that looked like, because she'd been singing in LA ska bands. And then at one point, so then Ingrid, the other singer that was there, was leaving, and they were like, we need a singer. And my brother's like, my sister sings. And so I came down there and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I obviously know the music. It's not like, you either know the ska scene or not, right? So there's like that kind of thing. Like, you can't, I mean, you can teach somebody it, but like, it's of course much better, as we know, if someone is into the music.
Of course.
So and it was a really easy fit. I mean, I'm a super nerd about vocal harmonies, and we just clicked really, really fast. So it was easy.
And speaking of which, so how do you and Elise usually decide which parts you're gonna sing, for a given song? Is there a method to the madness? Is it very defined?
No, it's not super defined. I've generally been singing a lot of the higher notes,
Okay.
but not always. And so the way we usually determine it is, most often Jason will come up with some guitar part, like construction, like song ideas. That's how we used to do it. But other people in the band have also done that, Mikey and other people. So usually what we've done in in the old days is we had cassette tapes and we would record ideas and then either hand them out to each other or maybe rehearse. But sometimes Jason would be like, here's a few ideas I came up with, like chord progressions, like with little breaks and, guitar lines or whatever, like very rudimentary ideas, sketches, right? And then he would hand them to me and Elise, and we would dub with our little cassette overdub. Uh, we would take a copy each and like maybe just work on some ideas at home. So I would walk around and sit around and listen to them, and she would too. And then we would sometimes kind of like get back together and be like, well, I have some melody ideas for song number 2 on the cassette and song number 4, and she'd be like, cool, because I have ideas for number 1 and 3, and then we'll sort of write some lyrics and then go from there. And so usually the person that comes up with the original idea is singing the lead, and then the other person is constructing melodies around it. But then we get together just like many other collaborators, and it gets into a totally different place. So sometimes, some of our harmonies are like, we'll sing some unison, then I'll go higher,
right,
and
and
then I'll dip lower than her and come back, and then, then like do the chorus. I'll be doing like all the high parts or something like that. So it really changes.
Yeah.
And even coming up, I think we've just switched harmony parts on one of the songs we're doing. I was like, you know what? We just switched them, and for years we've done them a certain way, and like right now we're like, why don't we switch it? And it's like, oh yeah, it's easier for both of us to switch it.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Yeah, we tend to just it kind of reshapes a lot. I think mostly the person that writes the lyrics ends up being the lead, but like I said, it doesn't always become a lead.
Okay, fascinating.
Yeah, so Jason, for the both of you, for those who are unaware, what's the significance, importance of the famed 924 Gilman Street?
Well, I mean, for me, it was the first. So we used to always go to shows in the city, punk rock shows, like see, Dead Kennedys or Descendants or whoever. But Up Ivy was really a unique thing to Gilman. Like, even though we played shows with them prior to Gilman, that's where they got big. And so Gilman opened, I want to say it was 87. It was either 86 or 87. And the first band I was in, Rabbit Lassie, we were on a compilation called the Turnaround compilation. They made a movie about Turnaround, I think Green Day did a couple years ago. But there was a double 7-inch compilation, and we were on that, and Up Ivy was on that as well. And that was kind of like the first time you could hear them like recorded, and it was like, oh, cool, and the upbeats and all that. And I don't know, they just took off. I mean, it was just like such a cool sound. And Green Day was around, and it was a really cool place, a really kind of magical thing. Dancehall Crashers played there a couple times, which was cool. But it was just a really cool collective place. There was no alcohol or anything like that. I mean, there's people were drinking alcohol outside, but it was like a
right.
volunteer run.
Exactly. Volunteer run, all ages.
Wow.
Yeah.
Volunteer run means what? Oh, I thought you meant drink. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was.
Yeah.
It was volunteer run. Yeah.
The community, it's the community venue that was
Right.
run by, punk kids and adults, but it was all, everything was community and volunteer based.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
Oh yeah, 100%. So all ages, no alcohol, like you said. So there was no
People
like,
go outside, get drunk in their cars.
Yeah,
pretty much, yeah,
or down the street in the alley and the train tracks. So yeah, absolutely. So there was it felt very like alive and punk, because it wasn't like going to a club or a venue and paying a bunch of extra money for tickets for Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
None of that.
And sometimes those can be the best.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, amazing shows. I mean, like I saw, I saw like Fugazi. I mean, I saw so many cool shows there, and that's where Green Day got big and Up Ivy got big, and
No, truly important. And
yeah, it was really cool. It was, and now it's still around.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's band plays there, and
Wow.
yeah, last time I saw her there, they were headlining. They sold it out, And
Is she a professional musician?
And if you don't mind, will you say the name of your daughter's
yeah,
band?
absolutely. They're on Asian Man Records. They're on Mike Park's label, and they're called Small Crush.
They're
Okay.
awesome.
I
They're
have
really
Yeah.
good. They're really
They're
good.
really cool. They're playing down in LA. They're playing Anaheim end of March.
I'll
And
check
LA and April. They're going they've gone on a bunch of US tours. They have one starting at the
She's a
end of this month.
professional.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said. Oh,
It runs in the family.
Yeah, but then the really like the funny thing was the person working the door was Matt McCall or Matt Freeman's son.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Second generation for both of you.
Yeah. So it was totally cool yeah.
Funny. Funny.
And then kind of another funny story just about Small Crush is they got offered a show with Bad Religion and Alkaline Trio at the Masonic, which is a huge venue.
Yeah.
And someone canceled or something like that. And there she was playing with them, opening it, and she was like, "My dad's band toured with them like 25 years ago or whatever." Yeah,
That
so
is very cool. Very
it's just
special.
really funny. So it's fun. The whole thing's really fun, and the music business is not an easy business, but it's an important business.
And
Like
she
the
has
fact
your
that
encouragement, right? You encourage her.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
The fact that we're here talking about something that we did 30 years
Right.
ago and anybody cares is so cool.
True.
Mhm.
Well,
And you'll be surprised to know how many people cares.
so speaking of caring, this I'm going to show you. This is the back of a T-shirt. But this event, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So-
I
Oh,
remember.
the international, yeah, Ska Fest.
So a very important festival, a very important ska moment in the U.S. here. And that was International Ska Festival Earth Day celebration up in Berkeley in April of 1990. Share some words and some memories about that, if you would.
I did not think it was really going to happen. For one, it sounded like
Too good to be
such
true.
Oh yeah, it sounded like the most BS thing ever. Like it was like because I remember the guy that was booking. I wish I remembered his name, but he ran this club called the AMP that was like in Berkeley, and it was kind of like he would like book shows at various venues, and he's like, and we're gonna do the Greek theater, and we're gonna get the English beat, and it just
That
seemed too good.
matters.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Skeletones, and it was
Yeah,
And
Skeleton,
he
Donkey Show,
kind of
Let's Go Bowling, Gangster Fun.
And it
some of which were
happened.
international, right? Obviously, yeah. And he was kind of a BS artist, and turned out to be a creep.
Lou,
Lou, that's it, Lou.
Lou.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was like, God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Lou, and he was super creepy, and slimy, and so yeah, it didn't sound like it was going to happen. It just sounded like a big BS story. And the Greek
pulled it
theater,
off.
yeah, he
Yeah.
pulled it off, and the Greek theater is huge, and it was a big deal for all of us. I was so nervous.
Right.
Crazy.
Uptones were on that one as well. Liquidator. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Liquidators.
But-
Probably the last time I saw a Donkey Show play. They
Me too.
were a phenomenal band.
I think it was the last or one of their last performances from what I remember them talking about. But yeah, but favorable than good memories from that night.
Oh yeah, it was terrifying. I would say it was like I like said earlier, I don't really get nervous at shows. That was terrifying. That was a scary show. But it was great. And it was probably the only time.
Guys, bands that you had to perform alongside, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was like Bad Manners, who I'd grown up around the beat. It felt like, and it's just such a big venue for us.
The size of the venue was probably the scarier part because I think we either played with Bad Manners before that or after that. They were super cool. I mean, Buster was really nice and very supportive of us. So I don't think it was like intimidation of the bands as much as just like it's a giant venue. There was like 5 or
Like
6,000 people there. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also,
Wow.
I graduated there because I went to Berkeley High, so it was.
So that was extra special to you.
I was like,
So while we were talking about bands, what bands did you guys play with the most more frequently during that era? Most often.
Throughout
well,
the
we
night.
definitely played with
And then-
Hepcat a
and-
lot.
we played with Hepcat a lot. Yeah.
The early days. and the Loved Ones, Bart Davenport. We did a few shows with the Bart with the Loved Ones and Hepcat. We played a lot with Let's Go Bowling in the early days.
Yeah.
And then later on, we played a lot with No Use for a Name, No Effects. We did a tour with Boss Tones, the Bouncing Souls. With Bad Religion, we did a long tour, and then Warped Tour, kind of going back to, playing with a lot of those bands. Blink and No Use for a Name were a big, and then, basically everyone that played with us and opened, and No Doubt, they would all open for us, and then they became way bigger than us.
Pretty much, yes.
Like Alkaline Trio, AFI, list goes on.
I first discovered you all through and this, you've probably heard this from many folks, but through the California Ska Quake compilation that Moon put out, where you all have He Wants Me Back. So that's where I first discovered you. And then I think I first saw you all at here in Orange County, Viva Las Vegas. There was a venue in somewhere in Orange County. It was like a warehouse type place. I would say maybe that's where I saw you, maybe the first time perform. But that's a nice diverse list of bands, ska, punk, and kind of all over the map there. At what period did you both start to kind of realize that you were getting even more recognition? Maybe from some more mainstream media outlets, surrounding the Lockjaw release.
And that was kind of a whirlwind to a certain degree. Because, honestly, it was hard between when the Moon record came out and our kind of falling out with Moon and things like that. It wasn't like we immediately had a record deal. We talked to a bunch of labels, and there was a bunch of labels that we thought we were interested and then weren't. And we made a lot of different demo tapes, and all the while we were like, those songs were getting like played on like Radio Free Hawaii and stuff. So it was a weird time, because on the one hand, it was like we were playing good shows and getting airplane stuff, but we didn't necessarily have a label nailed down. And then we had a couple people. We had our bass player at the time, Alex, and our guitar player at the time, Dave, both quit because they were kind of like, this isn't really going anywhere, And and then it just kind of worked out at that point. And I think the cool thing about Lockjaw was initially we got to work with Rob Cavallo on Enough for the Angus soundtrack, and he was really good. And that record didn't turn out exactly the way I hoped it would. I think like Honey I'm Holy or Per sound more like us, but it sounded more like us than I think the old record did in a lot of ways. The old record, like from even right after we recorded it was like, it just never like captured like what we sounded like live or kind of the energy we brought. But so I think it was like a step in the right direction, at least even though it wasn't perfect.
Right.
But yeah, we also, just once we got signed, we were getting a lot of attention, which is why we had broken up again and then reformed in like 91. Did we reform?
Something like that.
After a year or two break.
Might have been 92.
Yeah, 92. And so we kind of realized that some people had gotten, our Moon Ska release, the old record, which we call the old record, and some compilations that we'd been on. And so we kind of felt like, we are getting a little bit of it, like response, and attention, after doing a couple tours where you'd get some cities would be good and some would be just kind of dead and terrible. St. Louis, woo.
No God.
Yeah, a few. And then getting onto like a MCA subsidiary, which was 510 Records, which was joint venture with MCA. So that was the 510 connection is that those Green Day's managers started 510 Records, which was like East Bay area code 510, right? So And then getting like enough on like 120 minutes. Wasn't it on 120 minutes? We got it like a little bit of a teeny buzz, but I think we were played on K-Rock like at midnight or something, you know. But
No, we got a lot. We actually got a lot of K-Rock, and we got a lot
No,
of
I,
Live
I, I
105
heard I
sign
heard you
up.
on K-Rock for sure.
Yeah.
So
but then like, you know, it was the same time that other bands were like fighting for that same little ska punk like little
Right,
spot,
of course.
you know,
Yeah.
which is sort of why we, you know, we stopped having horns. It's not the only reason why, but there was a few reasons, but just hard to tour with that many people, and we were kind of going a little bit more in the punk direction, but we sort
We
of
didn't
separated.
fire them or anything like that. Like there was so many
It was just a
stories. Like,
natural.
yeah, they all like got jobs and stuff because they're, you know, it's
Some were
like we're all
college
college kids, and that's what college kids do when they graduate. Then they're too like old to be in a band. I mean, that's like more than half the people that were in Dancehall Crashers that left was I mean, everybody quit to do like to go sell insurance or to get a job somewhere or whatever. And
Stand-up.
then yeah, or stand-up comedy, whatever. And then it's just funny, like, and then now it's all like, oh yeah, you know,
and
it's just
that's
it's
one of the
funny.
reasons why I have such a profound sense of appreciation for musicians, you know, people who stick with it.
Oh yeah, it's not easy, and
Oh
we all
man.
stuck together and we worked really hard,
Yeah.
and the thing is we had to pull together. Like people would leave and we would have to like regroup
Sure.
and not let it derail us. And I think it's a, you know, it's me and Elise and Karina really did that, you know, over and over again.
There was one show where somebody bailed right before a
Really?
really big sold out. I think it was 1,100 people.
Yeah.
And it was like, they were like, I'm quitting, I'm leaving, like an hour before the show.
Oh my God.
And so Jason had to pull off, you know, both guitar parts. And we were just like, what are we going to do? We have to get on
Was there
stage.
major hostility, animosity before?
No,
No.
it was kind of like stress anxiety thing, like didn't love performing, things like that. Just were like, I hate touring. Yeah, he hated touring. You know, lovely person, and you know, I was very good friends with him, so I was like, "Don't, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm out of here. Like, tell the rest of the band." I was like, "What? You can't do this. We have to go on stage in an hour." So I had to go tell everybody. I was like, "No, you tell them." Oh yeah, so like stuff like that we
And
did.
who did you get to fill in for?
No, he
this
did
first-
both. Jason did.
Nobody.
Oh no.
We just
Jason had to
played,
cover it.
and it was good, and we did it. You know,
Yeah, we did
show
it.
must go on.
Where
You
there's a
know?
will, there's a way.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Jason killed it.
so
But
take
I
us
made
behind the
moments like that.
scene.
Yeah.
Complete your thought.
What was that?
Complete your thought.
Oh, I was just gonna say what Jason was saying, which is that, you know, we would kind of have these moments like that where we just had to band together, and there's a, you know, a stubbornness and a persistence and a loyalty that you have to have if you're going to be in a band for a really long time, and it's not easy, and you don't always get along, and you know, everyone gets grumpy when you're tired on the road, and it sucks, and that's real. A lot of people really don't like traveling. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So take us
For sure.
behind the scenes. So was there a sense of camaraderie or competition among the band? For instance, Big Real Face, St. Ferris, Mighty Bostonians, and Goldfinger. Was it camaraderie, competition? Because we wouldn't necessarily see that, but you guys would.
During the ska boom, if you will, of the maybe
boom?
the mid
90s?
ska boom, the mid to late 90s.
I mean, we were so first off, the Bosstones, everybody warned us they were just jerks and we were gonna have a terrible time with them.
In
And
what
they were
way?
the
That's
nicest
broad. What do
band.
you mean?
Oh, just
Get into
people
fist fights?
just as people, the Bosstones, like people had said like, "Oh, watch out," you know, they're difficult or whatever. And they were so nice. And
they were like our favorite
most
band that we've
supportive
ever
band.
toured.
Yeah.
So nice to us.
Sorry
Such
to
cool
rudely interrupt.
guys.
You know, they're coming out this year.
Oh, really?
Boston's?
Yeah,
With
somebody told me.
Really?
Really?
Because they've
Huh.
been broken up.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
see if that happens. But
Oh,
But
anyway,
they
we
were
recorded
lovely.
them.
And don't quote me.
We won't.
Hey, it's recorded now.
Yeah.
The other bands, I mean, we were kind of like ska periphery, so we were playing with a lot of punk bands. We played shows probably with all those bands, but it wasn't, I don't know. I don't think we were like, oh my God, we're more ska than you. No, I mean, we were always getting crap for not being ska enough. So,
Yeah, that
and
was a big
honestly,
thing. Like, why did
you
you
know,
drop the horns? Everybody was really
yeah,
mad at us because we went. Yeah, we were
yeah.
sort of
So,
we'd sort of like moved away from that. Like the band started a bit more trad ska,
Yeah, right.
and then when I joined, we were still kind of in that place a little bit, but then we started, going a little bit, and a few songs like tried to kind of He Wants Me Back, things that were a little bit more mellow and slow, but then we kind of got faster, and in the kind of Green Day era, like kind of, shifting away from having, 9 people in the band so we could tour because we got 2 singers and 2 guitar players. So
Yeah.
it's like, do we really need more melody and more parts? Like, it's just a lot.
yeah.
Like, if you have 1 singer and 3 horns, maybe it makes more sense. I don't know. It just was a lot of people. Like, we couldn't tour financially with
Right.
9 people in the band. I mean,
Yeah.
Hepcat kind of did it, and they're unique, but, and other bands
And we
didn't.
didn't have 9 people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there were not, when we did the tour with King Apparatus, we had to scrounge up a horn player, and we got Dean, and he was amazing,
Dean
from
Bowman,
Let's Go
Let's
Bowling.
go bowling. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like we didn't even have anybody. It wasn't like our horn players had gone off and worked for Boeing and stuff. They were gone, you
Yeah.
know? So in our first show back, after we broke up briefly, we got Mike Park to do it. So that's kind of what the model we started using was, we got Dean, we had Matt Morris who plays with the English Beat now. We just kind of we would get people for one-offs, and or we had John Panel. We might have had 2 horns at one
Well, we had
point.
T-Bone Willie, who was in Bite Me
Oh,
Bambi, and Save
That's
Ferris.
right. Yeah.
So
Yep.
Save Ferris kind of started a little bit, later than us, obviously,
Right.
like years later
Yeah.
than us. And they were band members. I don't feel like there was any competition. I think everybody's been very supportive. Like the Suicide Machines, we toured with them, were like really sweet. I saw them a bunch on the No Effects tours that we've been doing, Punk and Drublic and the Boss Tones, and everybody's been so sweet. And also, Elise grew up with the No Doubt people. Like, she's Anaheim, Orange County. She knew Gwen and all those guys, Tony, everybody.
Yeah.
Since she was a young teen, or mid-teen or whatever. But she, like, everybody's been friends. It's not been competition. I don't really feel like that was ever a thing.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got their own vibe. Like,
Of course.
and we were very clear about not wanting to get too pigeonholed. I would say that we're pretty, like, we don't want to have a one-hit wonder, and that meant that maybe we had some conflict with our record companies because we wouldn't do exactly what they would say, because we knew that was going to be a short-term
Right, because
solution.
they always need to put right the bands in boxes and labels. Yeah.
They want you to do a thing, and
Right.
some bands can rise above that, like No Doubt or whatever, because obviously Gwen is just a star. She's always been a star. And
Always.
yeah, I mean, that was like clear from the very first time you ever saw her. You just can't take your eyes off her. She's just a very dynamic performer,
Yeah.
and her crazy, like, crazy, like, vibrato thing was really unique and interesting. And she just she always had a thing, like 100%. And very nice person. So they were able to get past that, but a lot of other bands in that time period, ran the risk. Let's say, I think that they were able to, have long careers, like, Less Than Jake and people, Suicide Machines, but they ran the risk. We were concerned that we were going to be falling into a thing where it's like this flash in the pan, one hit wonder. All the labels were trying to get everybody to have one stupid song on the radio that they, it was just kind of that vibe, So we were pulling back from that a little bit and wanted some longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Longevity.
Right, indeed. Another amazing show that I saw was one of the Madness dates that you all did. I know you did a run. I don't know if it was all
That was
California,
fun.
West Coast, but I was working at Universal Amphitheater,
Oh yeah, that was
You all
great.
played that one with Madness, World Crown Review, and Hepcat.
Yes.
That was to talk about the dates with Madness, if you would.
Well, I will just say, because I grew up in England until I was 12, and then I moved to the States. So for me, it was the Specials and Madness and the Selector,
Mhm.
the Bell Stars after that, Althea and Donna. There was a few people, but Madness was like one of the top bands for me. So, no offense to Op Ivy, but I grew up, they were later addition, like Fishbone and Op Ivy is not who I grew up with. So for me, Madness was like, Suggs, I can't believe I play like beating Suggs. I was so excited. The Oakland date was actually on one of my birthdays.
Oh wow!
So that was even more exciting. It was epic. And then Hepcat, I love, and World Crown Review, I love those guys because we toured with them in Europe, as we said.
Yeah.
That was very special.
Madness just has great songs too. I mean, they're not.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's the thing with like Madness or you know, they're not like just a ska band, right? They're just like a freaking great band that writes great songs. And I think that's what we wanted to do more so than just being like a ska band. I'm not saying we're like great like Madness or anything like that, but we were just more like, let's just write songs we like and
And
play
have fun doing it.
exactly,
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Madness and their piano, like their piano parts. There's a
Yeah.
just
And they're still, and I saw them last year at YouTube Theater here, and I'm going to see them. I'm going to see them this May at our Crew World Festival, but they're still going, and they still do really well.
so good.
Yeah, they bring the
Such
energy.
such great musicians, such great songs. Yeah.
So many great songs.
Very much so.
So a question for both of you. What's one thing that most fans may not know about Dancehall Crusher that you want to tell us or share? Because whatever you tell us, the world is going to hear.
You first, Jason. I can't think of anything.
I don't know. Something
They
people
don't
wouldn't
know about us.
know.
Mhm.
Or maybe that's not as widely known. Not looking for necessarily a secret, so to speak, but
Mhm.
We all have 3 thumbs.
a burner phone.
Geez.
I mean, we were the PG-13 bus is what people, we're pretty low key, like nobody's got like a horrific drug problem or
Wow,
anything
congratulations.
really.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty
That's good.
mellow.
Very
Mhm.
So I
functional.
think we're very functional and
Very functional. I love
like
that.
like
Close to
not
boring. Close to boring.
yeah, I mean we're kind of close to boring. But I think that works, and I think it's worked for us. But everybody's like, I think we started off the conversation with everybody's got like cool things going on and everybody's really successful and we're all very supportive of each other and we all care a lot about each other. So,
So now that
I
you
mean,
guys decided you're going to come back, where are you now at this moment, in comparison to say last year, this time, mentally, spiritually, and psychologically? Are you at a different place now? Knowing that the group is going to regroup and come back and hit the road, running, like you're saying about.
I mean, it's been different. It's cool. It's exciting and fun. It's
It's
really
cooler.
cool. Yeah, I mean, it's really fun to it's fun to get together with everybody and play. It'll be fun to see people that we haven't seen in a long time. And is it that different? It's not. It's weird. It's kind
Yeah,
of
it was
like
weirdly
initial.
like, what was that?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like exciting and stuff, but it's weirdly normal, which is I know seems strange, but
But
oh,
traditionally, that's how you have been. How about you, Karina?
Yeah, I think I'm a little nervous, I have to say. It's singing those parts. It's funny to go back because as a singer you have to sing lyrics, right? So that's a very different thing. It's like I wrote these when I was 18.
yeah, the bad ones out
They're
there.
really bad. Like, and then sometimes I'm like, God, I really hated that person I wrote these lyrics about, and I
Yeah.
just don't care anymore.
Maybe
You know,
maybe you can make the lyrics more mature. I don't know.
Yeah. So there's like moments where you're like, oh my
Like
God,
too much effort.
yeah, like who am I? Who
But how
cares?
about the anticipation of being on this stage in front of tens of thousands?
Well, we won't be. Yeah, that will be. I've just been doing that. So, because No Effects was
You're doing that now?
Right. But with
Yeah, No Effects was playing in front of, we played in
big crowd.
our big, 20,000 in Montreal, and
Oh, it doesn't get bigger. Yeah.
yeah, we've been playing massive shows, but I wasn't the front person, and that's different. I was playing keyboards and I was singing backup, and I would come out and do a few songs up front, but I wasn't the person. Like, it's very different to be a front person, not just because
yes.
Yeah, you got to like control the energy of the crowd a little bit, and kind of like. So I feel a little bit nervous. I'm not feeling so nervous about the music. I think that we're sounding really good, and I'm excited about that. That was a nice surprise. That was like, oh, we all still remember stuff pretty well. And after like the first day or two, we're like, yeah, it sounds like the same. That's weird. So I think that was a good, like, nice feeling. So I was a bit nervous, like, how are we going to all come back together? I've been doing music the whole time. Not everybody has. Some people have. So the stage part doesn't feel that nerve wracking, but I'm a different person a little bit. I'm a little older and like have a different attitude. I was very goofy at the time and like jumped around a lot. And I'm not that fit, and I'm not that young, and I'm just like, I'm kind of like, can we hire Ben? Like the
we should. That'd be cool.
To come. I'm like not even joking. Like, I want him to come and like be like, I could just like sing, and he could just be doing
right. Will you name check the rest of your band who will be part of these shows?
So we have, of course, Elise Rogers and myself, Karina Denike, doing all the leads and all the vocals. No one else is allowed to do any vocals, even though we've got some good singers in the band, but they still aren't allowed. No,
are you joking?
No, they are actually really good singers. Gavin Hammon, Jason's brother, was like a vocal major.
But no singing?
He doesn't sing. He only sang on some backup on some albums. But Gavin Hammon is a badass. He's also a voice actor. Who
and he sings all like we sing in bands together and stuff, but we don't sing in this band.
Not in dance crashes.
Yeah, got it.
Calls only.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gavin Hammond's playing drums. Obviously Jason Hammond's playing guitar, and Mikey Weiss, who's been our bass player, who has an awesome store called Mikey's Hookup. One in Brooklyn, which is just closing down actually, just like now, but he had it for many years, since like 2001. No, 2005, I think, 4. And one in LA. Everybody's really successful. Yeah. And we may have a guest guitar player that we will be having a guest guitar player that we've already been working with.
I'm not so good at counting. So that was at 5 musicians and 2 vocalists?
Yeah, five musicians, including the 2 vocalists.
Yeah.
So periodically you'll bring in horns if there's a need.
No horns.
No horns.
He wants the horns back.
There's a dispute. Some people really don't want it in the band, and we're trying to respect everyone's strong opinions. Let's just say.
Yeah.
They couldn't work
a song or two if we get lucky. So.
I wouldn't mind it on one song or two. Like,
I wouldn't either.
But some people in the band really don't want it. So
we have a lot of options.
We're trying to run this as a democracy.
Right.
We're like a democracy, but everybody has a veto, so it's a different kind of democracy.
Yeah,
love it. Karina, recently you, I don't know if it was your first time or not, but you were in Vegas for the Punk Rock Museum, given a guided tour, lending your expertise to the museum there. What kind? I've not had the pleasure of seeing it yet. I'm going to get out there. But what kind of ska representation was at the museum?
There's not that much, and I was wondering about that. So I did ask Mike about it a little bit, because it's kind of been Fat Mike's project for a while,
right?
But not just him. There's a bunch of investors and a bunch of board of directors and stuff. So the Boss Tones are in there, the Interrupters are in there. There's a little bit about us, and there's a bunch of Warped Tour stuff. So there's some people in there, but it's not a whole lot of ska punk. There's no specials. There's no other people, but the thing is that the way that the museum is set up is it's about items and about like So like if people don't respond and give you anything to put in there, they might not be in there yet.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's end all be all, but like they get, at some point, somebody did ask me to contact the band and get some things there, and I kind of flaked on it because we weren't really talking at the time. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a negative thing, but I was just like, oh, I haven't talked to everybody in
In a
like
different place,
years,
right,
like what are
right.
they doing, and like sort of like I don't really can't think of anything to like send in that's really special. So I ended up giving them a dress that I wore in our live DVD.
Oh, nice.
So it's this blue dress that like visually it sort of has its own representation because it was part of our live DVD, which was the last thing we did. So in a way that was kind of cool. So that's in there, and there's a photo from Warped Tour and stuff like that, but not tons of ska punk yet. But yeah, the Interrupters and the Boss Tones donated some cool things.
So is it relatively new? I'm not familiar.
Yeah, the museum. How long has the museum been open? Is it a couple years now?
2 years, I think.
Yeah.
I think this is their second anniversary, April.
Oh,
I
very
think so
new.
too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was hoping that they were going to open it sooner, but they had a couple of delays. So
Right.
April 1st, I think, was their opening.
One more question for you, Karina, because you mentioned him, Fat Mike, No Effects. You spent a number of years.
8.
8, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know people don't know that. I joined 2016.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that long.
But COVID messes up all our time.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
right.
have no idea
COVID
what
does
time
mess it up.
anything
Yeah. And I'm sure it would be very difficult for you to pinpoint like a high point, but if you had to summarize the time, how would you do that?
Okay, well, we played in Montreal on the very last like month and a half of our tour. I think it was about a month and a half before our last shows. And that was their biggest. We played in front of like 35,000 people and like 100,000 people, like big festivals in Europe a lot. But this was their first all like no effects like crowd for 20,000, and that was a really big deal. And it was actually a really emotional. Like they were really like, this is our crowd, and they're here for us. And that was a pretty epic show. The last weekend that we did was really emotional. It was quite difficult actually because there were so many friends there and so many friends backstage. But people just came from everywhere. It was like guys from High Standard, from Japan, like Australia, like people came from like everywhere to see them, especially for this last weekend, but really for the last like year and a half final tour, the 18 months that we did that. So yeah, I would say it was like an end of an era. People were crying. We had 30, guitar players on stage for the last show. They got so much love and support, and yeah, a lot of tears, a lot of emotion.
Right.
Another fun one was in Vienna, where they played Linoleum 5 times just to be funny, and it was just kind of a random like that just happened, and it was hilarious. So like things like that, those guys are so funny. I mean, really, and such good people, like everybody in the crew, and Kent, and John Graber, and Rugley, and Jay Walker, and Jay Reynolds, and just everybody on the crew that we've been working with for so many years, and the whole family. And then all 4 of them, Mike, Smelly, Hefe, and Eric Melvin, I have like, very good friendships with them. So long story short, it's a very warm group of people, very generous and very loving. And so touring was fun.
Yeah.
And I do miss it, and I will miss it. But I think that they're very important, like just being supporters of like a lot of communities and people that need it and should have it. Having a rainbow flag on my keyboard for however many years that they had it before me, and it's like supporting gay and trans and supporting being anti-racist and like writing really important political lyrics. like The Decline and The Idiots Are Taking Over and Eat the Meat and like the Marxist Brothers. Like there's so many good songs lyrically that, especially right now, I think are really important. So
Very relevant.
I don't know. I commend them. I commend them for
Mhm.
for being who they are. I really do.
Yeah.
So we just about reach our destination, right? The clock on the wall is never fair. Time at this point is not our friend anymore.
Yeah.
We do want to remind folks, obviously. Well,
But we should ask them to tell us about the reunion, since the reunion is here, the world knows when and where people will see you guys.
Yeah, you go ahead, Jason, because I got.
Yeah, so we're playing the Warp Tour in DC on June 15th, and we're playing the Warp Tour in Long Beach. I think that's July 29th, and then we're playing 2 nights in San Francisco at the Great American Music Hall, June 6th and June 7th.
And if
How
you
about
don't,
the East Coast?
and if there's no ticket, if you don't have tickets for those 2 shows, you're SOL because those are sold out, right?
They're all sold out.
So how about the East Coast and Germany, Australia, just rattling off some countries?
Those are the 4 shows we have booked right now.
Oh, I see.
No, hold on, you want to make them offers for Germany for
yeah.
Scamania, but
yeah, and I would just say that, we're thankful the Warped Tour, it's a lot to get this whole thing together, like
you mean
there's
the
been a
tour or
lot
the
of
band together?
Yeah, to get the band together and just to logistically make the whole thing happen. There's been a lot of nice offers over the years, and we keep getting offers from lots of folks to play shows here and there.
I bet.
It's just, but there's a lot, there's just a lot to get all brought together. And so, Kevin, it's great that this all worked out, and we're all thankful for that.
Indeed.
The rightness of time, man. The rightness of time.
And we're very thankful for both you, Jason, and Karina, to you both for joining us on our 100th episode.
Yay,
Awesome.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You two are awesome. Thank you so much for being who you are and kind of, giving some like presence and weight to the history of LA Ska is such a cool thing, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. It's
Very
been
much so.
it's been very nice getting to know you in recent years, Karina, and looking forward to meet you in person, Jason, at some point.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll make it up probably to the Long Beach show.
So when is the show again? Long Beach?
July.
End of July.
End of July.
We'll roll there together and we'll check him out.
Nice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and everything's sold out right now, so it's yeah. I mean, I think like Jason said, it's been hard for everybody to get all together because everybody's got very busy, and
which was essentially why I raised a point. Where are you now in comparison last year? Mentally, spiritually, psychologically, you have to be up here.
Yeah, I mean, it's
especially
exciting.
if you live in a moment. If you live in a moment.
Yeah.
Really
For me, I was super busy with NoFX for the last 8 years, so for me,
but that's not your band.
Right, but I mean, now that I have a little more time because I was really busy with them, but I think it just all kind of fell together at the right moment, and Kevin.
The rightness of time and place.
Yeah, and Kevin asked Elise, and she, they're good friends, and she was like, "What do you think, guys?" And I was like, "Okay, let's think about it." Like we all just were like, "Yeah, actually, this kind of is going to work this time." Yeah. This was the first time that the offer kind of made sense for us to just like put some time aside when we could,
From an economic point of view.
No, I mean, no, that's not the only reason at all. It's because people have a moment in their lives where things are doable.
Yeah, and very exciting at that. So,
and this is that moment.
Yeah.
It just.
But I mean, that being said, we do not live in the same city. So even practicing, we have to fly people out.
It can be challenging.
Things too. So it's not.
Yes.
So the economics of it is also kind of a part of it as well.
Right. But it takes effort for sure.
Be honest.
Yeah.
Well, very exciting, Jason. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Karina, as well.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and we appreciate everyone for your ongoing support to reach us here at our 100th episode. Junor, thank you for
Yes,
everything
man,
as well.
fantastic. And please subscribe to this podcast series and our YouTube channel. Follow at History of LA Ska on Instagram and join our Facebook group. It's very important that you join. And this series is produced by my good friend Eric Kohler of Rockery Radio.
And until next time,
Mm.
Karina, Jason, Junor, and I'm going to leave you all with this. Please do your part to celebrate and preserve the scene. And come out, put on your dancing shoes, and enjoy yourself. Much love and be well. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Have a good evening, guys. Thank
Take care
you.
now.